Okay, we will get the work session started here. Topics for the work session.
We didn't really have any written down, so.
Okay, Mrs. Stacy.
Well, shall we talk about the records?
Okay.
I think that's the issue we got lots of discussion on yet.
Commissioner Thomas, you have anything?
No.
Okay, well, there's a historic tax credit I want to have a little bit of a conversation about. Architecture Board Review meeting this afternoon, 81 Jefferson, wanted to bring the group up to date on. We ought to continue our discussion or conclude our discussion on 108 Jefferson. And then the sheriff, in respect for his time,
Whenever you get me in.
He's not in a hurry.
okay,
He's salaried.
wow, okay. So, you want to talk about record retention? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I just don't, with the thoughts of wherever we get with 81 Jefferson and doing something with those records and the where.
Okay,
I just didn't know if we were any further anymore. Not that I've done any more research specifically on anything. I just want to, we know we got to keep that on the radar and make something happen. If the land bank comes back with us with something favorable, I don't know if we're going to talk about that, where we're at with it.
well, I think, yeah, it's all kind of, 81 Jefferson, I guess, is all kind of related, so.
Yeah, it's all,
The Architectural Board of Review, I think, wants some input into 81 Jefferson Street. They have a meeting today at 3:30 that I will be attending. I have talked to a potential developer for that site. As you know, we have discussed the possibility of transferring that to the land bank. But the land bank wanted some information, pretty much that, and understandably so, that it should be a smooth transition, that there wouldn't be any backlash, and that they would be able to hold and sell the property as long as we took care of the expenses while we still had items in there in storage. I think the only thing this board talked about is if we do that, if we get that done, then the clock starts ticking for us for finding a place for storage. We talked about a couple of buildings downtown. Neither of those have come to the point where we had any negotiations or anything, but we've got a couple other possibilities. I've talked to some folks that own some warehouse space now, relatively new warehouse space that, would be willing to allow us to use that. It is set up for warehouse space. My concern about warehouse space is that, hopefully, from a documentation standpoint, as the years go on, we will need less and less space. If we do digitize records, it would be eventually more of an archival center than it would be, a place to store documents. Hopefully, everything will be in some form other than paper. And there's a suggestion too that, we look at a site and put up a building to do that. And again, that's always one of the possibilities. I don't know,
yeah, and, this is futuristic, but it's on my personal radar for the county to consider at some point in time, and it's been mentioned, is about something with the ag services down the road, if and when we ever got to the point, and I'm throw that out there as if we were fortunate to end up with a public-private partnership of something, doing as some other counties have done. I guess I'm not positive of their financial setup, but with that area out there south of town, would it be possible then to have a section that, when we're ready for that would be storage versus another taking up space downtown in the limited lot space that we have for some storage, but that doesn't answer our immediate need of if we move on 81 Jefferson because of the development and not being the county being the holdup on letting things get finished in the downtown area with the amphitheater, I don't know if that's the correct word for it, the park development there, et cetera. But, like you said, what the need is gonna be in the future, who knows? So maybe some type of temporary lease is the least expensive way to have something for a while to see, you know, except we didn't wanna make people move things out until we were to the point of, I have to, but I think we have to move on to something, otherwise it just continues to be, well, when.
Yeah, I agree.
Have we had made any progress on finding scanning technology? I know we were talking to some vendors.
The scanning committee needs to get back together. I know the juvenile probate has been a little ahead of what the rest of the scanning committee was, because I think they obviously see the need. But the last time we had a meeting, we were gonna schedule some vendors, or if we needed to back up, if the commissioners decided this was a global problem, whether it needed to be maybe an RFQ, because going into it to just take care of 81 Jefferson Street is one thing, and, you know, some vendors can probably come in and help us take care of that, but if it's, you know, I don't have the expertise to pick out a scanning system countywide, because I know we were talking about, you know, seeing what all the other county offices use, finding a program to, so maybe it's at the point where we need to put just a request for qualifications or even proposals together, because I just don't know how big of a scale that you want to go with this
Yeah, I think as
process.
comprehensive as, you know, the electeds are willing to participate. Because I think that, you know, then we're solving the problem, not just, you know, kicking the can, as the saying goes. But, you know, but I'm also not sure what kind of footprint we would be looking at physically if we were setting up a scan center, you know, or you know, what kind of footprint we would need for that in order to process those documents. When I was in 81 Jefferson Street the other day, you know, a large portion of what's down there are ledgers, you know, books from, you know, turn of the century.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know that we ever get to a point where we scan those, because we're talking about, you know, breaking binding and scanning them and then reassembling them. So I think, you know, to Commissioner Kirshner's point, those at some point just have to end up in a permanent archive center where we can protect them the best we can. Because I think it probably is cost prohibitive to scan all those ledgers.
If we don't try to scan them, they're gonna eventually be unreadable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're already, because of the situation they're in, they're already deteriorating. Nikki and I went to a scanning Karma session on Friday, and they did give us a couple names of some companies that come in and they actually take the books and they do that for you. And they can do
Do
this.
they reassemble them? Or are they?
That I didn't ask, but most of the counties that were down there had indicated they're actually trying to get them scanned, getting them microfilmed, and then getting rid of the majority of the books. 'Cause
I think there's some companies, Shane, that don't even disassemble them. They've got a
Some kind of
magic
device.
wand, if you will. They just kind of scan each page with that. So, I know that I've had some conversations with staff over at juvenile probate, and they've scanned things that were like tissue paper. I mean, they were
Yeah.
falling apart trying to get them scanned. So sooner the better. From that standpoint, you've got the technology committee getting back together?
We
anytime
need to
soon?
now. I think you know, so we were doing those tours and we were gathering other information. I wonder if CCAO would have anything to help us with putting the RFQ together.
They did reach out to my
Or
other
RFP,
county.
or whatever it is.
Yeah, I got some samples from other counties that have done the same thing, and there are other
Okay.
counties that are,
So you did get some.
yeah, I got some
Yeah, I
examples.
mean,
to do
I think
that.
that we have to understand that we're gonna have to commit some resources to this. The elected officials will do their part, I'm sure, as they have been doing, but if we make it a countywide project, I think that we insinuated and we need to follow through, that we're gonna need to commit some resources. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means 100 or 500, but I know that it means something significant. Okay.
Yeah, from my perspective, you know, I'm willing to participate. I think it makes sense. I just don't know what that footprint looks like. because it's a transitory thing. We're taking existing file boxes, scanning them, that's a workspace we need, and then we're deciding what we're going to keep in perpetuity. So
Well,
it's a
yeah,
very
one of the-
fluid thing.
One of the dilemmas, not dilemmas, but one of the concerns was that there are different software programs out there with the elected officials that scan. And obviously then they have to do some research and look things up. We wanna make sure whatever we get, these two systems talk to each other, so that,
There's some kind of compatibility,
Yeah.
you don't wanna have to,
yeah, so we, you know,
I
we
mean, it
wanna
could
make-
end up, somebody's gonna end up having two different systems of reading things, I don't want that to be the case, but we don't know, but,
And like, and even with GIS, that ought to be compatible with that. I mean, we need to get everybody on this, there can't be the same software, but at least the same ability to pull up information.
Right, and as easy as that sounds, it's
I know.
trying
It's not
having
easy.
a vendor show me, I think is a little counterproductive, because they're showing me what their system will do and how it
Right.
will work and how
Yeah.
great it is. So that's why it's hard to get the vendors in here, because they sell it and it sounds great, but I don't really know what works
I wonder,
with.
do we have the ability to, when you do an RFP, to actually ask them to give them all a similar document and say, you know, we wanna
Proposals?
have you do this for us and show us how it then works, and then let the departments, you know, kind of assess what the end product was.
And how that
And how it worked,
how that
yeah.
interfaces with any other software that we have out there that we're working with now.
Are we,
Yeah, and that's what some of the other counties did. They just put just a one-page description of what their vision is, and when they let out the proposals come back, they don't have a cost to them, but the companies propose their thoughts and
How they
ideas
would
on
handle it.
how they would handle it. So that's what the request for proposals usually
Well, let's
does
try
for
to,
us.
I mean, let's try to
Explore.
move it forward to get some companies
Yeah.
interested and at least get some conversation going and some paperwork back and forth and
Okay.
yeah, let's,
take it to the next step.
and I don't know if we need the committee together, or if we just an email that we're going to move on this, and if they have thoughts, you know, then maybe that is
I
fast.
think we need them together anyway. We need them
Okay.
to get back together anyway.
Okay.
So we'll set that up.
Are we confident that we have most of the documents out of the way that aren't going to be retained or scanned? Has the shredding occurred that we kind of set in motion earlier this year?
The
I mean,
last
juvenile
update
probate was going to shred some,
Yes.
we got control some documents to
Yeah.
shred. and
There's a lot of departments that have taken stuff out to school up. I think they're down a shredder, so they're a little behind, so they've taken probably 40, 50 boxes additional of just ours, but they're kind of saying, can you hold off just a little bit, because, you know, we're getting behind because we're down a shredder, so, I'll have to see where we're at on our stack. As for the rest of the departments, I know Jean's still working on items, and I'm pretty sure Teresa's still working on stuff getting rid of too.
And part of it, when you get your staff grant, part of it is a cultural thing. And by that I mean, you know, when they have a new program or when they submit paperwork to somebody, the question needs to be in the back of their heads, could we do this electronically? How can we do this electronically? You know, there are a few things that come to mind about papers that we get in here, and I know I've had some conversation with a couple of the electeds, but we need to get a mindset as to what is it that we can do to eliminate paper. And there are a number of areas that I'm sure in this office we could. So we just need to think about that when, you know, if I'm actually writing something up, is there a way I could have done this without the paperwork?
Yeah,
I mean, I thought about it yesterday, I wrote an article. Now, what could have I done? Well, I
Yeah.
could have went on a laptop and done it, forwarded it to somebody and said, you know, make the edits, clean it up, and then email it back to me. Well, instead, I go back on a legal pad and I write it out, and have somebody type it, and, you know, but that, you just get,
It's true.
that's just what you do, so.
Yeah,
And there are ways that you certainly could, if you really thought about it, you could eliminate a lot of paper.
yeah, and I think I think the data center has got to lend itself to all this because of concern, maybe some have had, I don't know about anybody's concerned with storage and the way systems are working, but I know that comes to mind when I think about eliminating paperwork, because I'm all the time getting stuff at home. You know, whether it's the insurance stuff or any type of stuff you get on a quarterly basis, and they're going, you need to, you know, go online and register to not receive all this mail and
Yeah.
all this paperwork. And I always wonder, but is it
So what
safe,
do
is
we
it
do?
secure? And I think that data center's gonna answer a lot of that security concerns that, and backup issues and those kinds of things that some departments have had too. Might be a minor concern of theirs, but it is out there, isn't it?
Okay. I was supposed to get an email, I'll check on that before this is over with here. So, I mean, this all ties in together then, so I just wanna make sure you guys are both aware again, I'm going to the architecture board review, talking about 81 Jefferson Street. Is there any other concerns or comments you want me to make? As far as I understand it, our decision basically is to eliminate that building from our portfolio, if you will, by whatever means makes the most sense. The top thought right now is to transfer it to the land bank and have them dispose of it. That's pretty much where we are, or is there anything else I need to add to that?
I mean, I think that sums it up. I mean, the architecture board review is to, I'm just asking this in question, is to make sure that things done to the buildings in downtown are, continue to enhance and not be eyesores.
Well,
Is it about, do they cover into the historical perspective? Because I guess I,
The main,
Yeah, but-
I get you, I get where you're going. The main reason is because land bank wanted to make sure they weren't gonna get any, you know, they didn't wanna take on a situation where there was gonna be, kickback
Controversy or any kind,
controversy.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what we're trying to do is just eliminate any possible areas that controversy might exist, so that it's a smooth transition.
Yeah, there's no reason for us to own it. We don't have any potential to use it in the long term or the near term. So, you know, the options are, you know, sell it, tear it down, donate it, let it deteriorate. The last one, we're not gonna, the three of us aren't gonna let that happen, to, you know, for any amount of time. So,
And I wanna assure them we have absolutely no plans now or anywhere in the future to go in there and renovate that, to do anything,
Yeah.
you know.
And, you know, my focus is on what's the greater good here. And, you know, it's in an area that's ripe for redevelopment, and we're the obstacle.
just gonna say, we're the ones in the way in a sense, if you. Yeah.
Okay. Sheriff, you'd like to talk to us about, can't stand the heat?
Sure. It's that time of the year where we look over what we have left in our lines, and we project it out to the end of the year to see what we might need to make it to the end of the year to keep the lights on. And we're requesting a little extra funding in some of the lines. I think there's 8 lines that we're requesting a little extra in, a total of about $43,552 to get to the end of the year. Repair services, uniforms, transports, those kind of things. Some of the lines that, in the beginning of the year when we requested our budget, we didn't quite get what we asked for, and we understand that. So during the course of the year, when we run a little low in one of the lines, we request to be able to transfer funds from one line to the other to be able to pay off those particular items. So we did that, and we came up with, and I think you folks have a copy of what we're requesting.
Yes.
In front of you, I hope, to get to the end of the year. The plus side, I don't know if you know, but last week we had our federal inspection. We didn't have one last year because our counts were low enough to where they didn't bother to come inspect us, but we had our inspection last year from the federal government. They sent 5 individuals in this time to look over everything we did for 2 full days. And they only came up with 5 minor things that we need to adjust. So it pretty much fell in line with the one we had a couple years ago, where the closeout lasted about 10 minutes and they were out of the building. But we did exceptionally well for federal inspection. The other plus side is the immigration counts are going up. I think we projected 1.2 million for this year. Right now, we've billed out 1.4. We're looking for another 150, 160,000 to come in for October. And then when November gets here, we don't, sometimes the government pays that in the next year, depending on when we get the bill into them, which was what happened this year. We got November and December this year. So respectfully, we're requesting a little extra money in those lines to be able to make it to the end of the year.
Do you need this?
We had
Did you print it? Do you
that
see it?
during the meeting.
I didn't print it, but what was the total again?
$43,552.
Thanks.
Is there, And any major repairs that you see for next year, for 2018, as we move into our budgeting season? You have anything that you see that you'd like to start?
I know one of the things was to replace the rest of the roof. And, you know, that was one of the expenses that we had. We fixed some leaks over the year for about $2,500. So, but maybe to look at the rest of the roof. We recently repaved the rest of the parking lots. That looks very good.
Good.
That should last us a long time. As far as any major repairs, the air conditioner unit was replaced just a few years ago. It sits outside. We overhauled the boilers probably about 6 years ago, 5, 6 years ago. It's tough to think of what may come up
Right.
in that building out there. It's 20-plus years old, so offhand, I can't think of
We've
anything
anticipated the roof.
Yeah, roof we did.
Yeah, we're hoping for another big win.
We hope anything else insurance covers, such as those lightning strikes and, yeah.
Yeah, it was good with that insurance, fixed the back door that had been blown off a couple times in the way because they put it on the wrong way, the original construction, but I can't really offhand think of anything
Now, we've
major.
done the ovens and stuff. Is there any refrigerator, or is there any other 20-plus-year-old that you didn't?
I can look into the freezer units that we have that are back in there, that are original. The new oven just came in, and they're setting that in place to try to save a little money on the install. Our guys are taking the old one out and putting the new one in, or they got a new hook up the gas one. But I'll walk through the kitchen. That gets used pretty hard, so we'll see what's in there. I'll talk to the maintenance guy, see if he's got any projections. We'll see what we can come up with.
And the other thing, we've started talking about tough books, and what, are we getting enough use out of them in
They
the
use those every day.
every day?
Every day. If you listen to the scanner, you'll hear the dispatcher say, "I sent you a call."
Okay,
So all that information, unless it's a hot call, it goes right over that tough book. And the deputy can acknowledge receiving it. It keeps track of when they acknowledge it, the drive time to get to the location, how long they're there. They have the opportunity of sitting in their car somewhere in the county and typing on that report. Keeps them from driving back to the office all the time to type stuff up. So we get a lot of use out of tough books.
Yeah, and right now, they're all working, we don't have any that are,
They're all working.
you know,
A little slow, but they're all working.
When did we buy those? We got a grant for those, right?
That was a grant from 2010.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
They've
thought
been
they were
around a
7
while.
years old, that's what they said,
all
yeah.
right. Good. Thank you, Sheriff.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break and start the session at 10 o'clock. So people have a chance to show up if they're gonna show up.